107.9 Life FM, more music, and each Friday an 11 o'clock guest with great stories about their life and how they're impacting others. This morning, John Paul's joining us. We've found out how the Raj family have been quite influential in educating people in Bangalore in India. And just finding a little bit more about that, we've asked you to share a story, Jonathan, of somebody or a child, a family, that you've seen their life impacted through the work that you've done in their community. Somebody come to mind?
Yes, I can at this time think of one of the little girls that I took into school many years back, and she was from a family that had, the whole family had committed suicide. They were probably at a very difficult situation at that time. Nobody knew what the situation was, but the parents decided to one day have a very nice meal, with the kids. And after a while, when the kids went to sleep, they just poured kerosene on each one of them and just set them on fire. And this little girl, Nivedita, who was about 2.5 years old then, managed to crawl out of her mom's arms into a bucket filled with water. And that's how she was able to save her life, And then she found out that everyone else died in that incident, and she was the only one left behind. So, when somebody brought that child to the school, they said, this is the only chance that she has at life. And we had taken that child in, and I had almost forgotten about the child because she was just been part of the school. And just before leaving Bangalore to come to Adelaide, there was this knock on my office door. And this beautiful young girl comes into the room and kind of almost forgot her name. And I said, yes, what are you doing here? And she said, I'm Nivedita. And today is my 13th birthday. And she's such a beautiful child, studying well, and with all the gleam and beauty in her face and the promise of a beautiful life ahead. These are the kind of, there are many, many stories that I can tell. But stories that have impacted lives and stories that have made a change, where we see kids out of, very poor quality lifestyle, out of rock quarries, studying through the school and going on to good jobs and having a wonderful future. And these are the sort of things that have really impressed us and made us really happy.
So what do you see that the key to the success of Bangalore City Mission has been and continues to be?
Definitely, I would say the support that the children back home have received. Many people that I talk to here, the people who have supported us through Bright Futures, have said that, it's only a small help that we have done. But the support that we have received through Bright Futures for the kids back home has been amazing. It's been life-changing. These are kids who would have otherwise gone without an education. Kids who work in rock quarries, whose families earn an income of less than $1 or $2 a day. And education for them is not even a distant dream. It is something that they have not had for generations. We call them first-generation learners. They've never had an opportunity at education. And what Bright Futures does is it recruits sponsors to sponsor our kids back in Bangalore to the privilege of an education and a shot at life, And that's been amazing.
And we heard really the start of this about your dad sitting under a tree reading a book and happened upon a missionary couple from Canada and how his life changed. In fact, really affected the whole family line, including yourself now running this great facility and no doubt your children. Isn't it amazing how we can intercept in a child's life and actually change the future and the history of the rest of their family?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how a simple act of kindness, brings about a transformation in somebody's life, And the best part is of all this, of what I've seen, is that these kids not only get benefited out of what happens, they also give back to their communities. And not only give back to their communities, even when they are in the process of learning and doing things, they do it that much better, because they feel it's not something that they can take for granted like normal privileged kids do. It is something that they have grabbed onto, something that they feel is given to them as an opportunity that their forefathers never received. And this has really impacted their lives and their future. They've really gone on to, support their families. I have an example of a kid who was once breaking stone in the quarries, and through the support of one of the sponsors through Bright Futures, had an education at our school, and now works in one of the largest banks in India. And not only working working at the banks, but he also has convinced his senior management to go back to his community and start savings accounts and educating people about savings accounts in his community. And that has been one of the greatest joys for us, where that creates a chain effect, a ripple effect in the community. So we are really happy about that.
What have you seen over the years as being one of your greatest challenges? I mean, obviously dealing with the trauma that a lot of these kids have, but are there greater challenges, everyday challenges that you need to meet?
Yes, definitely, because every time I go to the quarry, I mean, I've been there hundreds of times, but each time is depressing, and not only that, the fact that affects me or gets me thinking is the fact that, I'm always not able to do enough. Though we have 600 kids in our premises studying, out of a quality school with a quality education system, we are limited in space, and it's only a very small plot that we have this setup, and I'm frustrated that I can't expand, in a way that I can get in more kids and help more. So that has been my frustration, because I come across lives on the brink almost every day.
Yeah, and as you mentioned earlier, it's poverty affecting individuals, affecting communities and families. But more than just that physical poverty, what you're bringing too is that aspect of God back into a community.
Definitely, because as I said earlier, the aspect of the spiritual poverty in itself, I would say is not a bad thing at all. It's what poverty does. Even Jesus was poor; he had no place to lay his head. But the things that surround poverty, like abuse, addictions, and sufferings, and child labor, and all sorts of these issues. These are the issues that cause pain. The spiritual part of it. What we have done is we have, through our community workers, who are in fact preachers and pastors, we have actually been able to address the people's spiritual needs as well. Everywhere there's an opportunity to preach the gospel, we have preached the gospel and set up local churches and villages. In all the villages that we work in Bangalore. In fact, 3 villages have local churches, and other villages also where we preach the gospel. And not only that, through the church there in Bangalore, we were able to support 22 other churches in our neighboring state. So we've really had a stress that and I personally believe that the love that Jesus showed me when he died for me on the cross is something great, and that kind of love is something that nobody else can experience, and it's only a little bit of that we give back to the people that we come across.
Well, it's just been great to hear a little bit of your story, way on the other part of the world, long way from Adelaide. I hope you're enjoying your stay here. If people would like to follow up a little bit more about how you can sponsor and be a part of building this great community over in Bangalore, the website to follow it up is brightfutures.com.au, and a link available at life.on.net. Lovely to meet you today, Jonathan.
Lovely to meet you too.